All right, Mr. Rudy Hernandez, thank you very much for being here on TheBoxingBar.com, and welcome, man.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Hey, cool, man. Question one, day one, man. Where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in South Central LA. I was born in 1962, October 27th to be exact. So my birthday's coming up. So, and I don't do well with just happy birthdays, man. But if you send me something, then I'll feel much better.
And what was it like being raised there in South Central?
It was a blast, man. I had a great time. I had a great childhood. We were poor, but we made the best of it, man. We did have a lot of fun growing up.
Everybody knows your brother, Genaro Hernandez, and, I don't know if you had other siblings. What was it like being raised there in those conditions, like you said, in a poor family or whatnot? How was your childhood like?
I always tell my wife that one of the best things that could have happened to me was to have been born poor, because being broke don't mean shit. Growing up, there were 5 siblings living in a one-bedroom house. And I remember my dad used to be like, he used to always be bitching about one thing or another, and like, what a small house. And I remember I was 4 years old at the time, and from that moment on, I remember a lot of things. And I used to wonder why my dad would be why he'd be bitching about so much, man. I thought the house was huge. Being a 4-year-old, one day I went back there. In 95, I went back there, man. I kid you not, within 2 to 2.5 steps, I was in the kitchen. From the living room into the kitchen, and from there, same way, to the right was the bedroom. And 2 steps and I was in the bedroom already. So yeah, I can understand why my dad used to be so pissed. In our house, we didn't have no furniture. All we had were 4 bunk beds in the bedroom, and they barely fit. My dad used to kind of squeeze in to go into the bathroom. He walked into the room, and in the living room, we had those twin beds. My brother Genaro slept in that one, and so we had 7 beds in total, man, but no furniture. Just a TV. And my dad would always be complaining. If it wasn't about one thing, it was another. But God forbid he had money. If we had money, he didn't care what the hell. There could be 10 dead rats in the living room, and he'd fucking just walk over them and be a happy camper, man, and ready to take us, whether to go and have dinner or breakfast or lunch somewhere. We pretty much ate out every day.
I'm sure you guys respect life a lot more than what you would have if you guys would have been born with a silver spoon in your mouth.
Not too long ago, a friend of mine, Alejandro La Cavita Gonzalez's dad, his name is Oscar. He once told me, man, because I mentioned, I said, you know what, I think I was born into the wrong family, because I think I was meant to be rich, not poor. And then he goes, why, man, if you have the chance to be born again, man, would you come back to the same family, man, or would you go to a rich one? I go, fuck, I'd go to a rich one. I go, well, I want to be poor again. I already been there. There's nothing to brag about. When you go without, it's different. So would I want to repeat it again? Give me a choice. I'm going to take money, Okay, I love my dad and my mom and stuff, but I'm going to miss you guys later,
I have a feeling I know what your answer is going to be like, but of all things, how did you get into the crazy sport of boxing?
My dad, he's always loved boxing. He was always a fanatic, man. He'd go to a lot of the fight shows at the Olympic Auditorium, or I even went to that Wrigley Field over on Vernon and Avalon. There used to be a stadium there. I remember the stadium. My dad used to play soccer, and we used to go watch and play there. I remember that stadium. We used to be there, and we went to one fight. I remember going to one fight. I can't tell you who fought, but I was a little kid at the time. So we ended up going to the Forum as well when Ruben Olivares and Napoles would fight. And so, like I said, my dad was all into boxing, and so then I must have been about 5 years old when the first time I put boxing gloves on. And my dad used to carry a set of boxing gloves in the trunk of his car, and so every once in a while, man, he'd break out with them in the park, and he had me boxing with another kid. Kids from various parts. We just show up and watch soccer games, and in between that, my dad would say, "Hey, you guys want to put the gloves on?" And the other kids would be, "Yeah," they'd be all happy, and I'd be like, "Well, man, here we go." And I didn't like it, man, but it was something that my dad liked. But at the age of 11, my dad took me to the gym and bought me some hand wraps and bag gloves from Everlast, and that was the beginning of boxing for me.
I know in my generation, it was Julio Cesar Chavez that got me in my family to watching boxing. But, was there other guys that used to idolize or like to watch boxing besides, of course, Olivares and Napoles, like you mentioned?
I mean, at that time, there was Chucho Castillo, Jesus Pimentel, Romeo Anaya, Enrique Pinder, Maravilla Pinder from Panama. Then there was, Rodolfo Martinez, Rafael Herrera. I can name a lot of Mexican fighters because that's what we would see. Those are the fights that we'd watch at the floor.
Maravilla Kid and all those guys like that.
Yeah, and at the Olympic, man, we saw a lot of the guys there. I used to watch it on Channel 13. They used to come out. They would be televised. And And then I watch Albert Sandoval, Alberto Davila, Frankie Duarte, Turi Pineda, Bobby Chacon, Danny Lopez, Miguel Canto, Betulio Gonzalez.
Wow, you're taking it way back.
Guti Espadas.
Yeah.
But these guys are like in the 70s already.
Yeah, Guti Espadas Sr.
Yeah, and then when I really got into boxing was in 1974 when I first started to box. And that's when I met the likes of Frankie Duarte, Davila, and Albert Sandoval. I got to see them come up, and Frankie Baltazar and Tony a little later in life,
Being raised in LA, of course, the Main Street Gym, and everybody used to like cruise around there and check that out. Did you ever get that chance to go over there and kick it or meet these great fighters that you're talking about?
Yeah, and it wasn't at the Main Street Gym. Where I saw Napoles and Olivares for the first time at the old, I think it was a YMCA or something like that over in Lafayette Park. There was a hotel there that they had like public workouts for them, and my dad used to love to go watch them work out. And I remember seeing Napoles bust up a guy with a single jab, and he cut him open, man. That's how hard his jab was. He busted that guy open, man. That guy had to require stitches after. And then we'd go over to the Alexandria Hotel. That's over on 6th and Spring.
Is it still standing?
Yeah, that building's still there. And they would have public workouts there as well. But that was like high-end, like Napoles and Olivares and all these guys, So back, I got the chance to train at the old Main Street Gym. As a matter of fact, I'm the last professional fighter to ever work out at the old Main Street Gym.
Wow.
As soon as I finished training, the doors closed. There was an article in La Opinion.
Do you remember what year that was?
It was 1984.
Wow, okay.
And La Opinion, it says, Rudy Chicano Hernandez is the last guy to work at the old Main Street Gym, pretty much saying that their doors will now close forever. And sure enough, man, they made a move. It's weird, but they got to bring down the building for progress. And what was progress, man? A parking lot.
Wow.
I can't believe that, man. All that history in that gym, in that building, man.
Just to throw it away like that.
They tore it down, man, so they can put a parking lot there. And I'm like,
didn't Sylvester Stallone or didn't Rocky 3, I didn't mean to cut you off there, I'm sorry, but didn't Rocky 3 get filmed like somewhere there, or was it the Main Street Gym, or was it somewhere else?
At the Main Street Gym.
And that was probably the year before, a few years before. I'm sure that movie came out like in 82, 83, something like that.
If those walls could talk,
Yeah, you could have some stories there, man. Like you said, you were one of the last generation or one of the last people to come out of there. What was it like being there? If you had to describe that place to someone that knew nothing about boxing or knew nothing about that place like me, how would you describe that environment?
With today's standards, man, people say, "Oh, this place is gross." But to us back then, man, that was the gym. It smelled like a gym. It looked like a gym. It was like an old building, man. Really, it was like back in the late 1800s. And, you had the real wood, not this phony plastic wood that we have nowadays. That was like real wood. And they had all kinds of defects here and there, and the walls were somewhat dirty. But it was a gym, and when you walked into that gym, man, you knew you were in the gym. And there was something special about it where you felt like, man, this is the Main Street Gym, like this is like where all these superstars of yesterday were trained here, You had nothing but history. And I think, like, as a fighter, damn, I'm here, I was able to be one of the last guys. I was trained there, but like I said, I was the last fighter to ever work out in that gym, and they closed it down.
And like you're saying, you're bringing that up, what was the first thing that you remember walking into a gym and experiencing that life and how it was to be in a boxing gym? What was that experience for you, and how did that captivate you, get your attention, and attract you to that life and doing that yourself?
I felt intimidated because, number one, I was 14 years old, and you have all these great guys there, man, and then you got people looking, and you don't want to look like an ass. You just want to stand out, because so many great guys were there, and I remember just feeling, I felt a little bit uncomfortable because I felt I was out of my environment. When you're used to doing something and being somewhere all the time, it's a comfort zone, right? But then when you step out of it and you go somewhere else, it's a little different. By that time, I had already been boxing for 30 years, and the only gym I knew was the Teamsters, and so I was comfortable being at home, And when we had to move out, when we had to go to different gyms, it just, that you're pretty much you can be able to hold your own against anybody when you go to other gyms. And that was the attitude I had. I was by far the toughest boxer out there. My whole thing was like, man, I feared everybody till the bell rang.
How were you like when you first walked into a gym for the first time? Would you say you were a natural going in, or is it something that you had to work at to become good at as time went on?
When I walked into the gym I was 11 years old, I thought it was a cool thing to do because my dad was wanting me to be a boxer and was going to show me they were going to show me how to box, and it was all pretty cool, man. Until the first time I get in the ring and somebody kicks my ass, then it wasn't fun anymore. I was like, I don't think I really want to do this. Well, my dad already invested in paying for the monthly dues, so it was a must that I suck it up and stick to it. And so I started, learning how to jab. And every day, man, I'd go over there and jab. You got to jab, right hook, jab, right hook. And I did that shit for about almost a year, man. And I used to get irritated because I always felt that, what the fuck, just jab right into hook and jab, jab. That's it. What the hell, there's got to be more to this. And I want to be doing what that guy over there is doing, And the first year was tough because, you're pretty much a victim there, That's what I call them now. I got pretty much the newcomers are the victims, because they pretty much get beat up by everybody. And only because you're learning, you're going through that process. Everybody goes through it. 85 or 90% of the guys, that's what they go through. An ass whooping for the first year. They're learning how to walk and keep their guard up and getting used to getting hit because that's the first thing that you got to get used to. Yeah, I didn't like boxing. If it would have been up to me, then I would have never went back to the gym.
What was your amateur record like going into, that life?
When I was an amateur, a junior, because they call it juniors, right? I had about 8 wins, maybe about 16 losses or 4 wins or 4 draws and stuff like that, I just had a shitty record, man. But I was really good at the gym, though. But when I went to fight, it was a little different. I didn't fight as good as I sparred. It was just a little different. And then I'm telling you, I just did not like boxing until one day, and I think 15 years old and about 4 months, they paid me to go spar with Alexis Arguello.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Alexis Arguello. Oh, I think he's a world champion, 2-time world champion, man. I saw him knock out Olivares in the 13th round.
Yeah.
1974, man. I'm like, oh, man, this stuff's great. So I'm going to get in there with him. Well, I tell you, man, it was the best 3.5 rounds of my life, man, at that time. I put hands on Arguello, man, and I was like, man, he just couldn't. He was kind of slow, man, so I had speed on him, and I had this one move that I caught him with it, like, I'd say a good 8 to 10 times, man, and one of those, man, he timed me, and he feinted that jab, and he acted like he was going to come in, and he feinted, and I walked into a body shot, man, and I was like, oh, he wouldn't let me quit. I wanted to quit, because it hurt, and, well, I'm going to tell you how it felt. Like, I went from being a nobody, man, to, man, I keep on fighting. But here's the key, watch. Check this out, man. I get off the ring. I finished the round after he cracked me to the stomach, man. It hurt, but he wouldn't let me quit, like I said. And we continued on. I finished the round. When I get off the ring, man, I got people, hey, good workout, guy, man. You did really good. And thanks, man. Thanks. I had impressed a few people there, man, where to the point where they said, hey, how would you like to? Do you have a manager? And I go, no. Hey, I'd be interested in signing you up, man. We can negotiate your contract. And I'm like, okay, well, and my dad said, well, what are you guys looking to pay or what? And the guy goes, hey, well, we can talk about that, maybe $3,000. And I'm like, wow, $3,000, I want to pay you. And I'm like, remember, I'm poor. I'm really poor. We walked to the gym. I lived on 29th and Maple, and I had to walk to the Main Street Gymnast on 3rd Street and Main. So that was like about 26, 27, like 28 blocks, man, to get to the gym. So we walked over there, man, and when these guys offered me like $3,000, $4,000, $3,000, I think it was.
Win the lottery or something.
God damn, man. Can you imagine for a kid like me, man, who barely had a quarter in his pocket sometimes, man? Some guy told me he can give me $3,000? Man, I said, man, this is it. From that moment on, I love boxing, man. I said, man, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, man. I'm just going to be a world champion and make all this money, and so that's what I'm going to do. I guess I'm good, man. People wanted to pay me this money, so I'll try this, man. So I kept, from that moment on, is the day I fell in love with boxing, man.
So from all that amateur background and all the training you were doing and how you went from not liking boxing to, like you're saying, liking boxing, at what point did you decide to say, you know what, let me step it up and go to the pros and hit that? At what point did you leave the amateur career and go on to the pros?
Well, let me tell you a little bit on the Arguello thing. I go back to the dressing room, and then I'm getting ready to go take a shower, because I'm done. And then Alexis Arguello walks in, and he says, hey, muchacho, how many pro fights do you have? Oh, and I'm like, I'm nervous, man. I'm like, no, I have no pro fights. And they go, oh, well, well, how many amateur fights you got? I go, no, I can't fight amateur yet. I got to be 16 because he had juniors, and that's what we were known as the juniors at the time. And then he goes, well, how old are you? And I go, I'm 15. And he looks at me, man, and he got the biggest. He started cracking up, man. It was funny to watch him laughing, man, because he laughed like a little kid, you know, like it was like the funniest thing to him. And I was like, I'm looking at him like, what's so funny? And then he called his trainer over. He goes, hey, man, how old are you? ¿Crees que tiene este niño? He goes, he goes, tiene 15. He goes, and the guy opened up there when I 15. I go, yeah. And he goes, no, ese muchacho va a ser bueno. And our güey looks at me and he goes, mire, mijo, venga para acá. He tells me, mire, cuando usted pelee con otro peleador, usted fíjese y mírelo y pregúntese si acaso este es mejor que Argüello. Usted le metió las manos a Argüello, es que nunca se le olvide eso. And he, pretty much telling me, size him up. I always size him up and say, man, you think this guy's better than Argüello? From that moment on, man, I went back. I went back to the Teamsters gym, and I had grown, man. I had grown like I had taken a step up, and I did pretty good. Then at 16, I turned. I was able to get my amateur license, and my first fight was at the Olympic Auditorium. I think I did. I must have done 11 of my 13 amateur fights were at the Olympic Auditorium. Because back in the day, they would put the first 3 fights were amateur fights, and then after that would be the pros.
And what made you decide to leave the amateurs and go on to the pros?
Oh, when I turned 18. As soon as I turned 18, man, I was.
Was that what it was like back then? Is what right when you turn 18 and you're able to go to the pros, go do that?
Come on, man. The difference between back then and today is like night and day. Back then, man, we didn't have YouTube. We didn't know what the hell we were fighting, man. My manager said, okay, you're fighting in 2 weeks at the Olympic. Okay. Oh, okay, we're going to have a weight. The weight's going to be about 139, give or take a pound. I said, okay, then, 39, give or take a pound. So that's all I knew. Once in a great while, we know it was a right-hander or southpaw, whatever, but it was, but most of the time, it's like, you're fighting on so-so date, so just be ready. I was like, okay. But you trusted your manager back then, Today, it's like, we all have to sit down and have a meeting because, you're fighting so-and-so. Guess the fuck, man. It really keeps the shit out of me when I see and I hear all this shit about boxing. And the trainers and, they're all freaking coaches, man.
So once you left your amateur career and you decided to go pro, what was it like the first night that you were going to do your pro debut? What was it like getting to the arena on that day? And what was it like before you went through the drapes for the first time?
I tell you, man, it was a hell of an experience. First of all, I had to walk to the Olympic Auditorium because we didn't have a car. It wasn't too far. It was just about a 15-minute walk. We lived about 15 blocks away from the Olympic Auditorium. But that was my pro debut then. I got to the Olympic Auditorium at 4 o'clock. At 4:30, my hands were already wrapped, and I was already shadowboxing because I was a swing bout. It was in December 13th, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 1980. It was a fight between an African and a Korean. They were the main event, and Joey Oliva was the co-main event that night. So, like I said, at 4:30, I'm already wrapped, and I'm already warmed up and shadowboxed, and I'm ready to go, right? Because they tell me you can go at any time. Well, I must have warmed up about 5 times that night, man, and I didn't get to fight until a little bit past midnight is the time I went into the ring. I was the last bout. And when Joey Oliva fought, I think there might have been like about maybe 30 people, 35 people at the Olympic Auditorium by that time. Then when it was my turn, I got there like about 12 people in total there inside the Olympic Auditorium. And, I won pro fight.
And like you said, you fought at the Olympic. What was it like fighting in a freaking historical place that's been there since 1925? I think, I want to say Jack Dempsey, was one of the groundbreakers. To open up the stadium when it opened up, I think I want to say 1925, more or less.
Yeah, but fighting at the Olympic Auditorium was, it was cool because I had already fought there as an amateur. In the juniors, I fought at the Olympic Auditorium.
Well, what was the crowd like back then? Like going into like an arena freaking like that, like where you have all those Mexicanos going in there?
Let me tell you, man, I think I fought this, in the amateurs, I fought this other guy named Jack Alvarez. And he and I put up a hell of a fight because the public threw in about, let me put it this way, my take was about $125 that night. And that was huge money, man, because we get paid $5 to fight amateur at the Olympics. They give $5, They're going to get a hot dog and a soda after the fight and a little chump change for the bus. And so we get $5, right? But that night, that night, man, they threw in a lot of money into that ring, and Jack Alvarez and myself, we got about a little bit over $125 each. So that was cool, man. You have no idea how great that felt. That was like one of my the highlights of my amateur career.
And going up several fights up, you fight. For anybody that's listening from here, locally, you fight one of our guys here, Lupe Aquino, and he was about 16 or 17-0 walking in, and you were the first one to defeat him. To this day, Lupe Aquino is still considered to be one of the first or pioneer fighters or champions out of, locally here at a neighboring Santa Paula. Do you remember that fight? Do you remember going into a big fight like that with a well-known prospect from Southern California like him?
At the time, Lupe and I had already sparred many times, and he can probably attest to this, man, that we had way better sparring matches than we did the fight. Because at the time, I was told, I was given a date. Okay, we're fighting in 30 days. That was 30 pounds overweight. I'm like, man, 30 pounds overweight, man, and it's only 30 days. And I used to tell my manager, at least give me 45 days. 45 days, man, and I'll come in and wait, man. You got to worry about me making weight. So give me 45 days. This time, man, I was told, okay, you're fighting in 30 days. I'm like, what? So I ended up going to Guadalajara, man. I went to Mexico, and I trained over there for about 3 weeks. And then I came back, and when I got back, I was like 7 pounds overweight. So the day of the weigh-in, I came in and I think like half a pound under the weight limit, and Lupe came in like half a pound overweight. So they told me, hey, fuck that, man. Let him go lose that weight, just like I did, everybody was worried about me making weight, and it turned out that he didn't make weight. So then, well, remember that at that time we used to weigh in the day of the fight, not a day before.
That's right, yes.
So then, we go back and we get in, we fight. We fight that night. It was February the 21st, 1983. And, it was pretty much I don't think it was a good fight. I think we just went through the motion of things because, if I'm not mistaken, I think he might have had a hurt hand, and he wasn't using his right hand as much. I mean, like when I watched the video, I said, okay, he's not using his right hand as much as he normally had in the past. But hey, that was boxing, man. You're scheduled and you got to go. It was a tournament. It was either forfeited or a fight, and he took the chance. And that night he must have hit me like about 6 low blows, man, and he got deducted, I think, like 2 or 3 points, man. So at the end, I ended up winning a split decision, and I don't remember what the scorecards were, man, but I think if both of them had he not been deducted those points, I still would have won like by a point or two on on 2 of the scorecards. On the other one, I lost completely the whole fight. I think he had it like 8-2, something like that. But it's just a matter of opinions, and I don't care. Like the fight could have gone. They say it could have gone either way. It could have gone either way. I'm not the judge. I wasn't the referee or nothing. Because the referee at the time used to score the fight as well.
And you had a pretty much relatively, knowing that you started at the end of 1980, and then in 84, like in August of 84, you stopped fighting, and you didn't fight again for about another 3.5 years. You only fought one other time after that, and then you just completely stopped fighting. What caused you to end your career at such an early time and such an early age? After the Lupe fight, I won the tournament at the Forum. I beat Edmund Tugan Robertson, and at the time I was like an underdog, anywhere from 7 to 10-1 underdog, and not even my dad, man, who was my trader and / manager, man. My dad had no faith whatsoever in me. He thought I was going to get knocked the fuck out, and I'm like, it was okay, but I had a different agenda, man. I was like, man, I'm going to win this fight, man, because remember, from February the 21st to March the 21st, like exactly a month later, and I'm like, oh man, that's pretty cool, man. So I don't have to worry about weight anymore. I don't have to gain that much weight, and I'll be okay. So when it came a month later, I was like, I'd go running, and then my running was like 1.5 miles, 2 miles every day. I didn't do more than that. I think I might have done it like 2.5 miles every once in a great while. I used to run like 1.5 miles, 2 miles only, and I was all pumped up, man, and I felt like I could win. So then, I go on to win the tournament. I performed what's called the Split Welterweight Tournament, and in 1984, my manager calls me up and he says, "Hey, I got a fight for you," because one of the fights fell through, and they said, "Well, we can use Rudy Hernandez as the main event." And at the time, man, Jerry Buss was, they really liked me at the Forum. So then
he tells me, hey, well, and I tell him, hey, sorry, but I'm 22 pounds overweight, and it's only 16 days left. And he goes, yeah, but you can do it. I go, all right. And he goes, well, I've been told that I already signed the contract, but if you don't fight, then they're gonna, the forum is not gonna use you anymore, and they're gonna drop you from your rating. And I'm like, man, and I was so freaking naive, man. I'm pendejo y medio, man. I didn't know shit. And at the time, I was 21. But I was, like I said, I was really naive, man. I didn't know a whole lot of nothing. So, okay, well, I'll take the chance, man. I'm over there working out. Well, 3 days before the weigh-in or the fight, 3 days before the fight, man, and it was summertime in August, man. And my daughter was just born. She was born August 12th. So then, like I said, 3 days before the fight, I stopped drinking water. I stopped eating completely, man, because I wasn't dropping weight. And so I finally get to the forum for the weigh-in, and I'm like a pound overweight. So they tell me, no, you got to go lose it. And my dad goes, pound chew gum, man. My dad's like irritated because I'm still a pound overweight. And so I'm trying to chew gum. I'm trying to spit, man. I mean, not a single dot of spit could come out, man, because I was
so drained.
I was drained, man. Like, I mean, there's nothing more you could do. I mean, I was chewing gum. My dad goes, wow, well, spit. I go, you see, I'm chewing this damn gum, Dan. I have no spit. I got nothing. I got nothing in me already. Yeah. And then I said, you know what? And then I remember saying, you know what, man? Fuck this shit. Fuck this shit. I'm not fucking fighting, man. I'm like, I can't make the weight anymore. So you do what you want to do. He goes, okay, well, we're going to deduct $500 from your purse. And I go, then I'm not fucking fighting. I ain't fucking fighting. You ain't deducting shit, man. I've been through hell already, man, to make this goddamn weight. And I'm forced to fight this fight. So I just won't fight. And then my manager goes, okay, well, I'll give up the money. I'll give it for my share. So I'm like, okay, well, fuck, if you won't do that, then fine. So the fight goes, man. And I immediately, man, I drink water, and my dad had this eggs and orange juice, and like he's supposed to hook me up, raw honey, and I was supposed to be all hooked up after that, right? Well, I drink the water, man, and I eat all that. Well, from the forum to Sizzler, I almost didn't make it, man, because I got diarrhea bad, really, really bad.
Wow.
By the time I walked into the Sizzler, man, I went straight to the goddamn restroom, man, and pinche agua, man, everything went right through me, like instantly, man. And then, like, you go to Sizzler, man, you get a little steak and chicken and shit. Well, I ate half of it, and I was so stuffed, man. You have no idea how stuffed I was. But remember, I had been starving for 16 days. I didn't really eat nothing, man. I would have a Snicker bar and an apple, if that, and when I would drink water, like limit myself to water. And finally, man, I go home and I tell my dad, hey, Dad, man, I feel really weak, man. So my dad goes, I'll give you a shot right now, B12 vitamin shot, man, and I should help you. So he gives me the shot, right, and I'm like, oh, fuck it, I feel good, man. I feel better now. Mentally, I fucking thought that I was better. Hey, man, I get back in there, I get to the arena at night, and they warm up, and I go, what for? I have no energy, man. I'm tired, man. I'll just fucking fight. I'll warm up in the ring, and the bell rings, man, for the first round. The guy's coming. I can see everything coming, man, but I can't react. Everything is coming, man, but I can't move, and I see the damn punches coming, man, and I'm like, those punches, man, I could have easily moved away from them, but my body wasn't reacting.
Yeah, you were killing yourself to make the weight.
And then I tell my manager at the end of the first round, I go, hey, you know what? I don't feel good. I go, no, you can do this. You can do this. He's like, he's Japanese, man, and he's like, oh, you can do this. You have to fight. And I'm like, okay, well, fuck, let's fight then. So I go back out there, man. I'm like, I feel like a punching bag, man, because I had beaten the guy a year before, and I beat him so easily, man. It was like, fuck, I saw all his punches coming, man. Those punches would have never hit me had I been in okay. And that fight goes on to the 8th round, and I think at the end of the 8th round, the referee goes by, and as soon as he goes by, man, I stop him immediately. Hey, wait! I go, you know what? I quit, man, because I just couldn't do it anymore. And he goes, oh, is that it? And I go, yeah, that's it, man. I can't do it anymore. But let me go a few rounds back. In the 5th round, I think it was a headbutt, and the guy was cut, and the doctor went in to go see him. And when he went to see him, I said, man, I hope they stop the fight, man. And I went on a technical knockout because he can't continue. And that does not let him go on. And that was my last chance of anything. And so after I lost that fight, man, I got really discouraged because at the time I was number 11 in the WBC, and that kind of rating meant something back then, you know.
And by saying all this, do you think it makes a difference? Like you were talking about back then with the same day weigh-ins, did it make a difference in how you dieted and how you ate, knowing that it was going to be on the same day than if you would have had the opportunity to weigh in the day before? Would that make a difference from how it is today to how it was back then on how you would have dieted or how you would have ate during that time of training at that time?
Look, man, the problem here is that it doesn't matter. Today, I can sit here and tell you blah, 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 but don't mean shit, man, because back then I didn't know that. I don't know anything of what I know today. You know, like, I have my people, and I tell my dad this, and if I want to piss my dad off, all I have to tell him is like, Dad, I wish I would have had a good trainer, man. Can you imagine me with a good trainer, man? I'd fucking be a badass motherfucker, man. But instead, I had you, Dad. I had to be with you. And he gets fucking super pissed. But the truth of the matter is that my dad didn't know about no nutrition. He didn't know about no what vitamins I needed. He didn't know about, cutting weight and doing this or doing that. He didn't know none of that. So for him to, he couldn't really help me. He didn't know the ins and outs of boxing. Just because you watch it don't mean you know it.
Nowadays they have a nutritionist and they also have a cardiologist, and they have all these people to help out with all these different ways. Back then it was pretty much just a trainer and that's it.
That's all fine and dandy, man, but that's all bullshit, man, because at the end of the goddamn day, the cardiologist doesn't know shit. He don't know what the fuck is like.
Exactly. That's how I see it too, man.
He's not going to fucking tell me, oh, man, this is what you need to do. Shut the fuck up. How the hell would you know? You've never been in the goddamn ring. You've never been in the 8th round and lost 25 pounds to fight this.
And you know what's funny? I was talking to this. I don't remember with who it was, but I was talking with with the boxer about how these people sometimes are testing positive for performance enhanced drugs and all that stuff. If I was a boxer and I had a nutritionist or had somebody that threw me some vitamins or pills to take, I want to take them. I'm not a freaking a chemist where I can go take those pills to my secret laboratory and find out what's in them. I want to take them because I paid the guy money and I would think that he's giving me the right thing. But if I take it and I test positive, and people are starting to get on me, I'm going to be like, wait, I was just taking some pills that my nutritionist said that I paid money to, that I would think that, would help me out. But, all of a sudden it becomes a thing. And a boxer's just a boxer. He's just going in there to do his job. It's not like, he has all these other, people that he pays to have their own duties. And sometimes they screw him over like we've been seeing in the last year.
Well, we saw it with Fernando Vargas. Fernando didn't know.
Exactly. Fernando or Andre Berto, same thing. He tested, and Lamont Peterson and all these other guys, they've all been testing, positive for this type of stuff. And, God knows, they're trusting nutritionists to give them vitamins or supplements, and they're just taking them because their nutritionist said so. They don't know what's in them.
And that's the thing, is that we're so naive. We're naive. Bottom line is that we are naive, and we don't know any better. But the fact of the matter is that, today, look at the old-time fighters. Okay, let's go old-timers like Julio Cesar Chavez, right? And that was just a decade ago. When you look at his form of training was, you get up and you go running in the morning. That's what you do, because that's your job. You get up and you go run in the morning, and then in the afternoon, at noontime or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you go to the gym and you work out and you do your boxing. He didn't have a goddamn guy with him hitting the mitts. Okay, hit the punching bag.
Yeah.
That's what the guys did. They sparred every day. They would work out on Sundays back then. And we did it all the hard way. We put in the work. We learned a technique. We learned a skill. I look at fighters today, man, and I'll tell you right now, there's very few fighters that I'm impressed with. Like Lucas Matiz, I think he's a great fighter. He's one of he's like one of those throwbacks of old timers, man. That guy can fight. Comes and he gives it 110%. He's strong. He fights. He knows where to hit, how to hit. And Glomolskin?
Yeah. The guy just fought a few weeks ago.
That's a bad dude, man. he's the guy. I really believe that he would do really well against Andre Ward.
You were bringing up that in August of '84, you had your last fight, you had stopped fighting for about 3.5 years, where you just came back and fought one fight. But a month after, actually exactly a month after your fight in August of '84, your brother, Genaro Chicanito Hernandez, had his pro debut in September 27th of '84. What do you remember about him becoming a pro a month after one of your last fights there? What do you remember about him getting in the ring, and did you think he was going to make it like how he did?
We were supposed to fight on the same card, except they didn't find an opponent for him, so he ended up fighting a month later. My brother was he was just gifted, man. He was talented as well. He held his own against a lot of great fighters. Let me put it this way: my brother was 15 years old or 16 at the time, and he was already putting hands on Marcos Villasana, Samacho Martinez, and the great Azuma Nelson. These guys were number ones in the world and world champion, and he did really well against them all. They liked him, and so he fought hard. And when my brother turned pro, man, I was there, and I was there to support him, man, for moral support and watch the fight. And I'll tell you, man, it was harder. It was harder for me to watch him fight than me to get in the ring to fight. I don't know, man. You'll always hear this from a lot of trainers, a lot of fighters, that they felt more comfortable being in the ring than their own sibling. But it's you work at it, and then the day comes where it's just you no longer go through those feelings anymore.
What was he like as a kid growing up? I mean, you of course being raised with them and living with them and stuff. What was he like as a kid? Was he always the mellow person that everybody knows him to be in the boxing game, or was he something different when he was younger?
Look, I'm the oldest. It was me, the oldest at home, and there was my brother Joe, and my sister Maria, Genaro, and then my brother Victor. And all of us, man, we were something else. But Genaro was always like, he'd always be like a step or two behind. He didn't want to get involved with all the shit that we do. He'd come around and like every once in a while get tempted to do something, and so he would just do it, but very rare. Like he just didn't want to have no part to it, man. And he was always different than everybody, man. We used to mess with him all the time, man. All the time, man. All I had to do was just look at him, man, and that piss him off. It would make him uncomfortable first, and then he'd be pissed, and he'd get angry, man. Like, I'm talking about, like, angry. You have no idea how pissed he used to get. And I thought it was the fucking funniest thing ever, This would be burlesque, and he wasn't like that, so he didn't like it at all. But he was a good kid, man. He was nothing like us.
His accomplishments, I mean, you brought up some of the guys he fought. Of course, he fought other guys like, of course, he got to the level of Oscar De La Hoya and Maromero Paez and, all these other guys. And like you said, Azuma Nelson and Carlos Famoso Hernandez, who I've had on here too. And, of course, the last fight with Floyd Mayweather Jr. is still on top of the world right now of boxing. You fought all these guys. In your opinion, or looking back at his career, your brother's career, how do you feel about his accomplishments? How do you look at his career? How do you think of him as far as his accomplishments in the sport itself?
But I would say this, man. My brother did not like boxing. He didn't like it. If he would have won $1 million, he would have retired and said, "Fuck boxing." That was his whole attitude. He didn't. He did it because this is what he knew how to do, and this is how he would get a paycheck out of it. And but he gave it 110%, man. He always trained hard, and the only thing is that I don't think he lived up to his potential, because there was more to him. There was more that could have been. He could have been a better fighter, but he was always comfortable just doing what he did, and it worked, and he won. So he used to say, "Well, what the fuck? Why mess with it?" And it worked.
Before we even started talking about him right now, earlier when we were talking about some of the guys that you remember watching fight, back in the day, you brought up Alexis Arguello. A lot of times when I talk to fighters and I ask them, who are some of the coolest or nicest guys outside of the sport, they always mention either Alexis Arguello or your brother Genaro Hernandez, or both of them, and they kind of they always bring both those names up for whatever reason. He was obviously a class act, a professional. He stayed in the sport even though he wasn't fighting. Of course, after he left the sport, and he stayed doing commentating or whatever. Do you think that boxing was always going to be a part of him, even if he was around today? You think he was always going to stay around the sport because of his love and his heart for the sport? Do you think he would still be doing that right now?
Let me give you a little small story here about him one day. He did this a number of times. My brother was a world champion. My brother was embarrassed to be called champion. When the day that he won the title, I think it was the first 2 years or the first 4 title defenses, he blushed when you tell him, "Hey, campeón, man, let me have an autograph," and he'd get all embarrassed, man. He felt really uncomfortable, man. He did not like the publicity. He didn't like people. He used to get irritated, like saying, what the hell's the big deal, man? Fuck. He never could understand that. To him, it was just a title, It didn't, it would irritate him. He'd just piss him off. I'm yet to ever see this happen in the gym. My brother, a world champion, gets in the ring, spars 4 rounds with the guy. Then he gets off and lets the other guy go in so they can finish their sparring, and then he can finish with the next guy. We do that all the time. But not when you're a world champion, man. We believe that when you become a world champion, now you have that luxury because it's an unwritten rules. Like I'm the champion, so I'm gonna go straight 8 rounds. And but my brother, I told him, man, what are you doing? He goes, "Nah, man, they're fighting before I am, so I'll let them go in first, and then I'll go back in there with them." And I go, "Are you fucking crazy, man? Get your ass back in there, man, and finish do your 8 rounds like you're supposed to." He goes, man, they're gonna. They got off yesterday and the day before yesterday, so today's my turn."
Wow.
Are you fucking kidding me? I go, "Are you fucking kidding me, man?" And I was just looking at him like, "All right, fuck, it's your world." But that was him, My brother used to say, he said that day, "Hey, Rudy, you know what, man? Ain't no fucking world champions here, man. I'm just another fucking fighter, just like they are. Their fights are just as important to them as mine is to me. So ain't nobody fucking special here, man. Fuck that, man." And then I looked at him and I said, "All right, bitch, you're the boss. You're the one calling the fucking shots."
I'm just a screw trying to get a nut, huh?
Yeah, and I understood exactly where he was coming from, and I go, "All right, fuck it. It is what it is." And I go, "Hey, man, but don't make this shit a habit, right? Because it's not fucking cool. I'll get the fuck out of here, too. I don't want to fucking spend all my day in the gym." And he would just crack up, man. And but he loved to come to the gym. He loved to work out, but he didn't like it. It wasn't until like I think like 3 years after he retired, like after losing to Floyd, that he started to find the love for the sport. And I'm like, "You motherfucker, man, why didn't you have it back then? We'd be way better off. Instead, we're here, struggling, back in the fucking ghetto." And he ended up respecting the sport. And he used to have a lot of negative things to say about the sport. And one day I sat him down and I said, "Man, you know what really bothers the shit out of me, man, is that you could say something negative about the sport. How the fuck can you say something so negative about a sport that's given us so much, man? Man, look, we travel, we've seen so much, man, and we've met so many people, man, so a lot of good people, man. Yeah, there's a few fuck-ups, man, but look what it's giving us, man." And then I told him, "Man, just say something. You can just say about there's bad people in boxing, man. But don't say it about boxing. Don't say nothing negative about it, man. I just don't like it. I don't appreciate it either." And my brother understood where I was coming from, man. So after that, he never.
Like I was saying, your brother had so much respect. I had Carlos Famoso Hernandez on here. I think towards the end of the conversation, I think I asked him something like, "Is there any regrets you have in your career or in your life?" And one of them was that he had to fight his friend Genaro, and that's something that he wishes he could take back because he's such a good friend, And that it's awesome to know that. My personal only time I ever met Genaro, and like I was telling you, I took 100 pictures with boxers, and usually I get too awestruck or too starstruck to do a conversation or whatever. I just snap a picture and get the heck out, and they do the same. The only person that ever talked to me was your brother. I remember being at the MGM. I don't remember what fight. It was about 2001, 2002. And I think he was working it. He had his tux on and everything. He had his badge on and everything. And I was walking out of the bathroom. He was walking into the bathroom there at the MGM Grand. And I asked him, "Hey, can I snap a picture like I did to 100 other people?" And after we snapped the picture, he stopped and he goes, "Who do you think's going to win today? And why do you think he's going to win? You know, and I think this person's going to win." And he stopped and actually had a conversation, you know, and I was like, who else would do that? I've never had a boxer ever before or after say do that or, you know, spark up a conversation, you know, and with a total stranger. And even though he was in a rush to, you know, go do his job, he still stopped and, you know, conversated. And I never got that before or after. And, you know, after that, he just got all my respect in the world. And it was sad to hear, you know, what happened, you know, down the line. But, you know, he got my respect that day. That's all I could say.
You know, man, my brother was not because he was my brother, man, but he was a nice guy, man. He always had time. I mean, whether you were a millionaire, a billionaire, it didn't matter, or you were a little kid. And my brother stopped to talk to a 6-year-old or a 10-year-old. He'd give that kid that same respect that he'd give a millionaire, and anything and everything in between. And I said, "Come on, fucker, let's go." He goes, "Man, I'm talking to this kid right here." I go, "Are you fucking serious, man? Get the fuck out of here." That was always my attitude's always been different than his, you know. Different people, you know. But my brother, man, just like, you know, like I said, man, you give the same that respect to a 10-year-old as he would a Bob Arum or whoever it was.
And I know from what I hear, his disease or what he got was a rare thing. It was something that, you know, a lot of people don't get, and you know it was you know, let's say something really bad or that type of cancer or whatever it might have been there. You know, did he tell you guys right away, or did he kind of keep it to himself for a while before he let it out to you guys, or you know, how did you find out, if you don't mind me asking?
I found out one day he said he something doesn't feel right, so he went to the doctor. I didn't even know what the hell was going on. But one day he calls me up. It's I'm thinking about 11 or 11:30 in the morning. He calls me up, and my brother and I had a special relationship. It was more like a father and son type of relationship. You know, anytime my brother had a problem, he'd call me. He had good news or bad news, he'd always call me. If he didn't call his wife first or me, it was me or vice versa. You know, it depended on the news. And he calls me to tell me, "Hey, Rudy, man, I have cancer." I go, "What?" And he goes, and he broke down crying, man. He just couldn't help it. He goes, "Man," and they're telling me, man, that they're gonna remove my right eye. And are you fucking serious, man? He goes, "Yeah, man." You know, and I go, "You know what, you know? I'll be over there right now. I'm headed out. I'm headed out to your house. I'll see you in a little bit. I'm on my way." Made a phone call. Call my brother Joe. I said, "Hey, Joe, go. Gotta go roll." He goes, "What?" "Yeah, we gotta go roll. We'll see that little bitch over there, man. Fucking, you know, he has cancer, and you know." So my brother Joe and I, or my wife, you know, we get on the road and we're leaving. We go over there, right? As we get into Santa Ana, my brother Joe goes, "Hey, everybody, why don't we stop by at a fucking pet store?" And I go, "What for?" He goes, "We can buy a fucking parrot. Give it to we'll give it to that skinny motherfucker over there." And I started fucking laughing, man. I thought it was fucking funny. My wife.
Oh, you mean like a pirate because of the patch in his eye or whatever?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I started fucking rolling, man. Right? I was laughing, and my wife, man, she looks at us, man. Are you fucking serious, man? You guys, she was blown away, man. She had never met any knuckleheads like us. So you know, when I get there, I take them out to the back patio, and I said, "Okay, what the fuck's going on?" He goes, "Man, you know, I have cancer, man." And I go, all right, you know, wait a minute. Okay, the fucking doctor tell you, okay, you have an expiration date, like 6 months, 3 months. And then John looks at me and he goes, "Nah, man, he didn't say nothing like that." I go, "Did he tell you?" He goes, "Nah, they just say." And then Genaro started to calm down. Now he's talking to me. He goes, "Nah, man, the doctor said you're going to remove my right eye." I go, "So what? Fucker, you just don't have a left eye. What the fuck? You didn't give an expiration date." You know how many people go around their lifespan with a handicap? It's a fuck. You have one eye left, and you don't have an expiration date. So he's saying that there's a chance that you're going to get through this. So he's like, "Oh yeah." Well, like, "No, yeah, he didn't tell me I was dying." I go, "So what the fuck is the big deal? Yeah, so you're missing one eye, fucker." And we're just laughing, you know. And then, so then Genaro goes, "Okay, well, cool, man." Now he calms down. He's feeling better. Well, he gets a call at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and he gets a call from the doctor, and he tells him, "Hey, you know what? I spoke to this other doctor, and he feels like we can save your right eye, and we're not gonna remove it." And I go, "See, fucker, everything works out." Well, he had it was a roller coaster, man. You know, he was going back and forth, and but he was strong, man. His will to live was strong, and it pretty much sucked because I mean, I was always there for him for anything and everything. And trust me, I want to tell you this, man. If I could have traded places with him, I would have. You know, because I always thought that he loved life, man. You know, he really loved it, man. And he had his kid, and there were some things that he still wanted to do. And I'm kind of a chicken shit person because I have my own family, you know. So you got to worry about your own, you know. But sometimes, man, you know, just.
How did you find out? Were you guys all together when it all happened, or did you guys, did you happen to get like a bad call that day, or, how did you guys all find out?
They say that money can't buy you life. Shit, it can. It can extend it. It's not gonna give it to you forever, man. But boy, can it extend it. And Bob Aaron, man, him and Mr. Honda from Taken Promotions, he's our boss. He's my boss, man. And they always looked out for him, man. They always made sure that he was taken care of. You know, he got lucky, man. And for 3 years, he went through the cancer, man. You know, these two guys, man, did, the people at Top Rank, and they were nothing but helpful for him, man. You know, Angie from Top Rank, man, Brad Goodman, Bruce, Miguel Diaz, even Rich Sandoval. Those guys, man, they were there for him, you know. They were there, and on the Taken side, we had a Kenny and Nobu, and these people, man, they made his life a little bit more comfortable the last 3 years of his life, you know. They extended it because had it not been for Bob Aaron, man, sending him to Houston, I think my brother wouldn't have lived another year, you know. And things were looking up, man. They were really looking up, really great, and then when he came back one time before last, he comes back from Houston and he goes, "Oh man, I have two dark spots in my body, but they say with the chemo, it should be it should be okay. So they're not going to give me that big strong chemo anymore. So they're just gonna hook it up." I said, "Oh, cool, man." So then my brother hooks up with he comes back and then he gets a phone call from a good buddy of ours and he tells him, "Man, you got to try this." And so my brother says, "Okay, well, I'll try it." So he goes into this program, and it's supposed to be like oxygen and blah blah blah. And well, he does that for a little bit, and he feels really good doing that because he's able to eat. So that's the one thing that he liked about it, that he could eat. Well, when it was time to go for his checkup in Houston, he goes to Houston, and they pretty much told him that he was done. That there was nothing else they could do for him, and they were mind blown. Their minds were blown away by what the hell happened. And you left with only 2 spots, and now you have it spread throughout your whole body, man, big time. And so then Genaro comes back and he says, "Hey man, fucking more bad news, man. I really got some real bad news." He said, the cancer has spread throughout my body, man, and it pretty much told me that there's nothing I can do over there, so I'm just gonna keep going over here and going through chemo. This is him on the phone, and then when we go to the hospital, now he's hospitalized because he's in excruciating pain. He says, "You know what, Rudy, man? They pretty much already told me, man, that there's nothing more they can do for me. I'm done." "What do you mean, Genaro? What tell us?" I said, "Well, what for, man? Like it's gonna change anything?" And then I said, "Well, there's nothing they could do." "Yeah, nothing. Now we're gonna. Now there's really nothing we can do anymore for you. So we're gonna send you hospice and just try to make you as comfortable as possible. Well, my brother went from, I think I remember that we were there at the hospital with him, and all of a sudden he has problems with his legs. So the doctor says, okay, well now you're pretty much gonna, you're pretty much paralyzed now from the waist down. I'm like, what? I go to see him at the hospital, and he goes, hey man, check this out, man. I'm paralyzed from the legs, from my waist down. I think it's a fucking big joke, right? So I'm like, no shit. He goes, yeah, check this out, man. So he starts punching his leg, and I'm like, fucking John, you don't feel nothing? He goes, nah, man, I don't feel shit. And he's like with a big old fucking smile, like they're like, oh, like, oh shit. So like, you're not gonna feel nothing. He goes, oh, why don't you check it out? Go ahead and touch it. And I'm touching him like nothing. So then I'm like a big dumbass. I come and hit my leg, and I'm like, oh fuck, that shit hurt. And I'm like,
so until the very end, he had like his spirits up then.
I fucking had weakest, and and then I went to I told him, well, that was on a Thursday night. I went and I told him, hey man, I gotta leave, man. I gotta travel tomorrow, so I gotta go to Vegas tomorrow, and then I'll be back. I'm gonna rush back after the show's over. I'm gonna come back and I'll be back. And I apologize for scaring the living shit out of him when he was a kid, man. I scared that shit out of him. And I told him, if that was one thing I could take back, that would be the one thing I'd take back. I've always had that regret, but what's done is done, right? And then he says, don't fucking worry about it. I go, hey, you know what? If I don't see you, man, if I don't see you if I come back and you're gone, just know that I fucking love you, man, and I'll till we meet again. And then he goes, no, I'm gonna fucking be here, man. You got nothing to worry about, man. I'll go about doing what you gotta do, because that's what we do, man. We take on the responsibilities, man, and that's what we do. I said, yep, that's true, man. You know, so I took off, man. I went to work. But I was at work, man, and I was not happy at all, man. My sister was telling me, hey, he's really looking bad, and so I'm going through a world of shit, man. And but I got some really good people that I work with, man, at the USG. For Watson, man, and Red. Those guys, man, when they saw what I was going through, man, they're like, what the fuck you doing here? Man, you need to get your ass over. You need to go home. But they rushed me to the airport, man, and they sent me home. And I came home and I went to talk to him. Everything was cool on Saturday night. But then I come back Sunday. And I'm with him. We're with him all day Sunday, and because about 7 o'clock, 7:30, my cousins, they're around there talking to him, and then I see my brother, and I see that he's looking tired already. So I told him, I said, hey man, I think you look tired already, man. You should rest already. He goes, yeah, I feel burned out already, so I'm a little tired already. Then I remember just leaning over, man, and I told him, hey man, we've come a long way home, man. Fucking care, man, but we all got to know that you existed, man, that you existed. He goes, yeah, we did it together. And we did together. I got a big old fucking smile from him. And I told him, all right, man, you go ahead and rest now, man, and we'll talk again tomorrow. We'll pick up tomorrow. So we left off, and we go, all right, man. I go, just rest up, man. Be comfortable. Let me know if you need something. I'm good. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be here tonight. We'll just stay over. And that was it, bro. That's the last conversation he ever had, and the last smile he ever gave. He went to sleep, never to wake up again. And then Monday, he was just going through the body was just going through the process, just going like breathing, and his eyes were rolled back already, and
it was starting to shut down.
Yeah, it was starting to shut down, but it kind of sucks, man, because my whole thing is like, I just didn't want, I see him going, asking for air, and I'm like, it really bothered me, man,
that there's nothing you can really do, how.
I'm like, look at we live in a fucking country, man. That if you kick a fucking dog, man, that's fucking 10 years in prison. if an animal is hurt or it's too much, the medical expenses are so fucking expensive, like $1,200, that they'll put them to sleep, you know. And we can't do that for a human being. That he has to go through this suffering. What the fucking be kidding me, man? Only in America, right? And I'm like, you know, and it sucks, but we have to go through that whole process. And then, you know, a lot of people came over and they paid their respects on Sunday, on Monday, and then on Tuesday. You know, the next day, man, it was at 3:04, man, he passed away, man. He gave his last breath, man, and that was it. I remember writing it. I put it on Facebook, you know, and my brother just passed away at 3:04. By 3:17, man, it was on the news.
Yeah, I mean, I think I remember reading it somewhere online, whether it been, you know, on Facebook or somewhere else, but I just remember a bunch of, you know, just heard that, you know, Genaro passed RIP, and I didn't even know he was sick, so it was like a big blow for, you know, what I remember of him and how I remember him and all that stuff. And sorry, I got a little, you know, black throat while you were talking and saying all that, but you know, it was hard to believe, man. It was hard to believe, and hearing it from a lot of people that, you know, fought him, like you know, Famoso Hernandez brought it up, and you know, I remember he was you know, talking about it and how he remembers them, and you would think, hey, they fought, like they should hate each other, right? But you know, all the mutual respect that all these people had for him, and you know, all these stories you brought up about him, and how everybody that I know has ever talked about him, they've always talked positive of him, and
you know, it's like, I mean, you just never know, you know. You just never know how things are going to play out. And at the end of the day, man, it's what you do with your life, you know.
Exactly. I was going to say, a lot of people take life for granted, and that's a big, you know, how with everything you're saying right now, how, you know, you watch somebody take their last breath, and how, you know, we just breathe a million times a day, but you know, we don't understand that it could just go just that fast too, you know.
Mm-hmm. You know that we don't have none of us are sure tomorrow, let alone later, let alone tomorrow, you know.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think that you know, life teaches you lessons, man. You know, you go through certain things, and then before you know it, man, it's like you learn, right? You learn from what you go on. Like a broken heart can teaches you certain things. You know, you lose a loved one. I lost my mom in 2004. You know, and then I lose my brother, man. Like losing my brother was like losing a child, man. Like you lose it, you know, like so damn hard. But my whole thing is that, yeah, today's today and tomorrow's another day. Fuck it, we move on. And people would say, like, yeah, earlier today, the guy goes, hey bro, how's your brother Genaro doing? I go, oh, he's fucking doing great, man. He's fucking kicking it with God right now. Probably kicking it with God, and he goes, he looks at me like, whoa. Like he's shocked, right? And like, yeah, he passed away last year, bro. And like, and people just, they're like more shocked than I am. And I tend to shock people a lot often when it comes to stuff like that, because.
And you're still in the game. I mean, he was still in the game even after he retired. I mean, he was doing commentating and working, you know, for like Top Rank and doing shows and stuff. And you're still in the sport in some way. What made you continue, or why are you still continuing in a sport like boxing, whether it be considered good or bad, or however it might be considered? Why are you still in the sport, and how active are you in the sport at the moment?
I'm a cut man now. I did the boxing thing, I did the training, the managing, and now I'm a cut man. And thanks to the UFC, man, I've done the big trade, and I have two amateur boxers that I work with right now. Christian Chimpa Gonzalez, that I think is going to be making some noise. Then I have Israel. He's a pretty good little kid, man. He's I think that he's going to do a lot of good things as well, man. I see these kids as having a bright future, and like I said, man, I love boxing, man. I love it. I love the sport. You'll never hear me say anything negative about it, because really, I don't say anything negative about it. You know, I'm not talking about the judges. I'm talking boxing wise. It's the sport itself. It's a phenomenal sport. It's a great sport, man. It's one of the only one of the very few sports like wrestling as well, the MMA, where it's just you and the other guy. It's like, and it's like, you can't blame nobody else, it's just you and the other guy. And you got two choices, man. You either fight or quit. And it's phenomenal, man.
For next month, you're going to be inducted into the California Boxing Hall of Fame on October 20th at Studio City, man. You've been chosen to be inducted in the next batch of inductees to the California Boxing Hall of Fame. How did you feel like getting that call, when they told you that you're going to be inducted?
I got a few other people there. They're really happy for me, man. They think it's like one of the greatest things ever. Like I got a few people from my neighborhood, man, from the ghetto, man. Rudy, man, that's fucking amazing, and it's cool and it's great, and I don't know, bro. I just don't. It doesn't sit as well with me as it does with others, I don't know. Maybe I'm ungrateful or something. I don't know, but I don't. I think we do this, man, because it's what we like. We love it. I get more out of it when, to me, the biggest reward I can have is watching this kid become this fighter. Like, let's say like Antion. Antion went from, I had him when he was 10 years old, and he went out to fight for a world title. To me, that was the biggest gift of all. Or taking Jose Armando Santa Cruz to become the WBC champion. Those are things those are the ones that I appreciate and I like more. Being recognized for something. I don't know. I just don't think. Maybe I'm not worthy of it. I guess I don't know. I just don't think I'm worthy of it.
But to touch all these things, all these different things, you grew up around the household that watched boxing. You became a boxer yourself, whether it been amateur or pro or both. Like you said, you touched training. You did the cutman thing. You did the managing and all that stuff. I mean, to have touched all that, to know that not a lot of people have done all that, and you still at a young age and to have been done that. I mean, I would think that's reason to be worthy of an honor like that. I would think.
I guess I was inducted into the WBC one last year. I got an award for it. That was pretty cool, man. But seeing how my kids, felt about it, I guess that's what made it a great event. And I think that come on October the 20th, I think that watching my kids and my family there is what's going to make it. Maybe then I'll have a better appreciation for it when I'm there. Seeing them, because they're the ones that have to sacrifice me. It's a job. My job is to go out and work, and it takes me everywhere. It takes me all over the places, man.
Well, I don't know what you think of being inducted into the California Boxing Hall of Fame, man, but to me, that recognition is deserved to you, and you deserve that, man. And everything that we talked about in the last few hours already, to me, it's someone that deserves to be recognized, whether you want to believe it or not. The life you've lived is something that a lot of people haven't lived or will never live. Everything you went through in this sport, for this sport, and you deserve to be recognized, whether you like it or not. Rudy Hernandez, thank you very much for coming out to TheBoxingBar.com. Thank you for making a very special night for me, talking to a great legend and a future inductee into the California Boxing Hall of Fame for this year, 2012. And thank you very much for coming on, giving us all the time that you did. And I hope to have you on down the line, man, so we could talk about boxing.
All right, well, I appreciate you taking the time, and just remember, I'm only a phone call away.